Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am DM Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, today's video I'm doing a follow-up on my video where I was addressing the article by Ben Riggs, where Ben Riggs had been declaring that the golden age of the tabletop RPG, whether it be industry or hobby or whatever term he was looking to use, has is now dead. All right, and I think primarily what he was talking about, excuse me, was that the perhaps the era of fifth edition is dead. The market share of fifth edition is declining, and those various third party creators that were supporting and in some cases propping up fifth edition were forced due to the OGL to start questioning whether or not they would remain connected to 5e going forward. I think that Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro, its parent company, have not been very upfront and clear whether or not 2024 is going to bring a revised version of 5e, a new edition of Dungeons and Dragons, or something in between. But I think one thing is very, very clear, and that is that it is not as backwards compatible as they claim it to be. And it's just not my impression. Not that I am an expert on running 5th edition, but I've certainly played 5th edition a number of times, and excuse me, I've read the books a number of times, and I've listened to a lot of other people with a great deal of expertise with 5th edition to realize that, and literally hundreds of people have come out and said that there is no way that you are going to come to a D&D 2024 game system with a 2014 player character. That the player character, although mechanically may be able to function within the new D&D, 5e revised, 6th edition, whatever they want to call it ultimately, that they're going to find that their character is very much underpowered. Sorry, I don't know why I'm suddenly coughing. Apologize for that. So, my argument, based off of the Ben Riggs article, which I disagreed on several points, was that I'm going to pose a question here. And that is, does the TTRPG hobby, and I'm speaking about the hobby itself, does the hobby need the next best thing in order to survive? So, what if the golden age of Wizards of the Coast with 5e and, Magic the Gathering, what if the golden age of that does come to a close? What does that mean for the hobby as a whole? And, can the hobby survive? Can the hobby actually thrive in that kind of an environment? And so I think these are the questions that we in this hobby need to start asking. And, and I'm going to put out my prediction that I think that the hobby, regardless of what happens with D&D 2024, I think the hobby is going to be just fine. In fact, I think the hobby will continue to grow even as the potential for Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro's market share declines. I don't think that the hobby is really dependent upon that. Excuse me. So let me start making my point. All right, and I can tell, like, if you're looking, you can see behind me just a portion of my collection. I've been reorganizing it. I bought an additional, or got for Christmas an additional shelf to make room for everything that I do have. And I just wanted to point out a few things on the shelf to make my point here. So I am going to go to full screen, and I want you just to take a look at this one shelf that I'm going to direct your attention to in order to make my case. So this shelf here, all right, I'm going to just read through what I have on it. So I have DCC and Weird Frontiers. And the reason why I have DCC here is because I run Weird Frontiers, and it's based on DCC. Next to that, I have a Blade Runner, the role-playing game. I have the starter box behind all of this, and then I have the core rulebook and the screen, the DM screen, or Game Master screen. I have Conan Adventures of an Age Undreamed. This is Modiphius's 2D20. All right, with its game screen, I have Gangbusters, the original Gangbusters, although this might be third edition, or second or third edition. But I have inside this box a Gangbusters BX. Next to that, I have Shadow Dark, and the remainder of what is on this shelf is Shadow Dark. Everything on this shelf are games that I will be running at an upcoming convention. And that's the point that I want to make here, is that even if the big companies lose some of their market share, or that market share shifts amongst them, even if there is this fragmentation that Ben Riggs was lamenting over, and even in one of his lines in there, he was like, everyone within the hobby, or a majority of the hobby, and its publishers, need to coalesce around just one game system and start producing for that one game system. And clearly, it's not going to be 5e any longer, and it's not going to be D&D 2024, whatever they choose to call that, because there is no SRD and there is no Creative Commons for the new game that that Wizards of the Coast is going to release. And even though some of the other big developers, such as Paizo and Paizo and Palladium and Chaosium and Free League and Modiphius, have grown over these past year and a half to 2 years, and even more, even longer in some cases. And some of these companies are very, very old, such as Palladium and Chaosium have been around for 40 years themselves. They are going to gain some of this market share, and they are going to grow in time, but there's plenty of room for your arcane libraries. There's plenty of room for, whether it be Bloat Games, or for Swords and Wizardry, or, for a variety of other game systems out there, whether it be, Chalt, or, any of the things that, the RPG Pundit is putting out, Sword and Caravan, or Lion and Dragon. Just such a wide range of different types of games that are being produced, both different types of genres, different types of game mechanics and dice systems that they utilize. Some don't utilize any dice system at all. Um, there's such a wide variety out there that that will only help the hobby survive the decline of a major player such as Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast. It's going to be a space for refugees from 5e that don't wish to move on to D&D 2024, who may not wish to move to other game systems that are very, very similar to what they have been playing, such as Pathfinder 2nd Edition. They may not wish to go to whether it be Swords of the Valiant, which is really a retro clone of 5e, or MCDM, which is not even slated to come out until sometime in 2025 or potentially even 2026, and that's a completely different system from what I understand. And meanwhile, there are all of these other smaller publishers that are churning out great products. You have Troll Lord Games, which is producing one of my personal favorites, is producing products. You have, again, Palladium seems to be getting a big boost and upsurge. Rifts has never become unpopular, and now Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is going into a reprint. Troll Lord Games is reprinting a lot of things that that are coming out of the Gary Gygax estate, and so new eyes are going to get the opportunity to look at some of the oldest creations and from one of the creators of the hobby. And Free League is putting out even more materials. They're actually working on the next case file for Blade Runner. So they're still supporting the game that they produced just last year and released just last year. So we're already getting an update on that as well. So I'm going to push back on that idea that the golden age of the hobby has ended. I'm going to say that you know the horizon is there's been an opening up of the horizon of the hobby, where sure, some of the major exploration, let's put this into that kind of a context. Um, you know, Wizards of the Coast has discovered a continent that people are traveled to from 2014 to really 2022, 23, if you want to extend it that far. But now others are going to follow some of that path and look around for other places to rest their hats on. And some of the original people that came in with fifth edition are now looking to move out beyond that and experience the rest of the hobby, which again, as I said, I think it's pretty clear it has been growing. And in Ben Riggs's article, as much as he bemoaned it, the fact of the matter is that he even acknowledges that fragmentation of going to these smaller game systems. And although he looked at it as a negative, I certainly look at it as a positive. I think that it's a positive place for the hobby to be in, because as some of those players, I used to say there's three places that the player base of 5e is going to move into once it shifts to this new version of D&D, whether it be the virtual tabletop or if they do continue to do, to make product, physical product. They're either going to stay with 5e and not move forward to, to D&D 2024. They're going to move to 2024, or they're going to move to something completely different. And that might not necessarily even be in the hobby. They may decide that, hey, I'm going to take a break from the tabletop role playing hobby and go elsewhere, go into a different area completely. So, this is something that, we have seen before, as Ben Riggs does mention that, there was a time when in the late 80s, early 90s, a lot of people left the tabletop role playing hobby because at that point, um, computer gaming just exploded. In the mid to late 80s. You had console gaming that exploded, and that same time period, and people were finding that they could play these games, for the most part solo, on their computers or on their consoles. And as the 2000s rolled around, the early 2000s, the rise of the, or late 90s, I should say, the rise of the massively multiplayer RPG in the computer sphere had began and then exploded itself, and brought millions of people into gaming and into role play gaming, during that big surge. And I think around 2014, 2015 or so, a lot of the MMORPG crowd started to, myself included, started to look back at, all of the time that we had spent in our youth, uh, looking at tabletop role playing again. And even though I still maintain a few MMOs that I still dabble with and play around with for the most part, much of my focus has become the tabletop role playing game hobby, as it's presented in, its physical form. And although I play online a lot, and that is certainly the way it's going to continue to be, um, there just aren't that many friendly gaming, game shops anymore. Many of them were tied to comic book shops, and they have certainly declined and disappeared over the last couple of decades as well. As we all get older and we move into adulthood, and we graduate from college, or get into our careers, whatever they happen to be, the time and the ability to go to a place, an in-person play. It's much harder to bring people into your home when you have a wife and kids as well. So that's another change that has occurred, over, the many, many decades. And it's always been something that has gone on. It's not anything new for the hobby. So the hobby will survive. The hobby will survive whether or not any one particular corporation or company or whatever remains successful or remains at its level of the market share. Um, there will always be, a greater variety for people to discover and explore than there will be the monolith. All right, and the monolith is not a positive. The monolith is, having one game as the only game that you run, or the only game that you play, and the only game that you even own. And I think there's probably very, very few people that fall into that category. Um, if that's all that you're looking to do within the hobby, then you really are limiting yourself to what this hobby does have to offer. And so, again, I strongly disagree with Ben Riggs as accomplished as some people might believe that he is as a unofficial historian of D&D. I think that he kind of misses the mark and truly understanding what the hobby is and how this hobby has survived over all of these decades now. Very, very similar to Cynthia Williams at Wizards of the Coast. Just no real understanding of the hobby itself and what drives the hobby forward on a consistent yet very niche level. And so I think that's what they really misunderstand, is that it's not meant to be monolithic. It's not meant to be um, one company, one game system, and everybody, including third party creators, are supporting that one thing. Um, it's always been a greater majority, a greater variety, I should say, that that should be where we all end up. We should be diversifying our experience within the hobby. And then this is not telling you this is the right or the wrong way to play. This is just laying it out that, in my opinion, this is the this is the way that you truly experience you truly experience the hobby for all that it can bring to you, for all of the experience that it can bring to you. And so, like I said, I don't mean this to be um, sanctimonious or to say I am absolutely right in this or anything like that. What I mean for this to be is just a trying to encourage you to get as much as you can out of this hobby and to not limit yourself and to try different genres and different game systems and from different companies. And you will find, I think, that that varied exposure is going to help you grow as a gamer, and certainly as a game master. You will become much better at being able to manage a table, any table, with more experience with different systems. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to switch back to here to the very beginning here, and basically, does the TTRPG hobby need the next big thing to survive? I don't believe so. I think that it can certainly survive with a multitude of other gaming experiences out there coming from different companies, different publishers, including individual creators as well. And it's all out there for you to pick and choose what level of interaction you're looking for in this hobby. But that's pretty much it. So I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed this video. Questions and comments, are always welcome. Whether you liked what I said here or not is, entirely up to you. And, I appreciate all comments that are going to come in. I will address as many of those comments as I can, with my own opinion, my own impressions of things. And, again, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and remember to share and subscribe if you hadn't subscribed. And if you have any suggestions that you want to make, that's what the comment section is there for as well. So if you want to talk a little bit about a game system that you want me to take a look at, that you think will kind of be that next maybe small thing that a lot of people can attach to, then let me know, and I will certainly give it a look at. So you all have a great day and take care.